Take that, you woke liberal snowflakes. Let me be the first to welcome myself back to Brainblaze. Alright, Dave, welcome back. Dave writes it, I read it, that's the format of the show. I know what it seemed like it's those of you watching, but it's been a while since I had opportunity to write a script for this channel. Yeah, I told everyone not to write for Brainblaze because I had so many scripts. There was like 20 of them. And I'm like, boys, I can't keep up. Slow down. Don't believe me? Well, when I saw this script was available, I genuinely cancelled a planned trip to the pub this evening. I'm glad Dave likes his job. Given that, when you become a parent, spontaneous trips to the pub become rarer than a truthful sentence from Donald Trump, and every single outing requires careful planning and preparation, especially if you want to meet up with your other parent friends. It's quite a big deal. Yeah, it did become enormously complicated, and it's like, before kids, you want to go to the pub? Yes, mate, let's go! And then you have like several pints, everything's good. But with kids, it's like, oh no, I can't tonight. No, that's not enough notice. Where are you going to go? Oh my gosh, it's complicated. Incidentally, if you're one of those people who goes after me in the comment section for voicing the occasional derogatory opinion about Big Orange, then this video might not be for you. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. Look, I don't know. I'm not super political. Like, I don't know. Is Trump going to do some weird shit? Probably. He's kind of gets into it, doesn't he? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the Commander-in-Chief loves things that are about him, so we decided to make him his own special video. Yes, so boy, we've done that in the past. One of my favorite videos that we made was Trump's failed businesses. There's some real stinkers in there. So pour yourself a cup of Trump coffee. Wait, is that really a thing? Wait, you can't do that because it's not a thing anymore. Oh, okay, it was a thing once. Pour yourself a nice glass of Trump vodka then. Oh wait, that's not a thing anymore either. I see where you're going. Fry yourself up a nice Trump steak. Oh, forget it. Yeah, fair play. But I mean, look, business people do tons of shit that doesn't work out. Like, I'm barely a business person, and I do tons of shit that doesn't work out. Like, I'll be like, this is a brilliant idea. I'll spend ages on it, and then no one wants it. And it just gets relegated to my boulevard of broken dreams. Sit there both hungry and thirsty whilst we take a look at Donald Trump's most insane executive orders. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, there seemed to be some like pretty wild stuff. It's like a flurry of activity. And I'm like, some of these are pretty crazy. And so I was like, Dave, you want to write a video about that? I know you love them spicy. Remember how cereal was fun as a kid? Well, Magic Spoon are going to bring that back for you and without the sugar crash. Plus, they've leveled up with new crispy treats and brand new high-protein granola, which I wish I was eating right now, Magic Spoon, to be honest. But the package didn't arrive for me on time to do this ad. In fact, this is just an empty box. And I took it from home. I took my Magic Spoon birthday cake flavor because my daughter loves it. I took it home. She ate it. And it's all gone. And so have all the other boxes, which I guess is a good testament in itself. But the new treats, they're crunchy, they're crispy, they're packed with 11 to 12 grams of protein and just 1 gram of sugar. So great for a little boost when you're on the go. And then it says I have to switch to granola and pour it in a bowl. And I wish I could, but look, if it's anything like Magic Spoon's cereal, it's going to be good. I personally like granola even more. I don't eat it because it's one of those things that you think is healthy for you, but is secretly not. Not with Magic Spoons. 13 grams of protein, 0 added sugar, and it comes in amazing flavors like honey almond and peanut butter. Oh my god, Magic Spoon, I want this. When is my package arriving? Now, Magic Spoon cereal. Of course, still available. 30 to 14 grams of protein, no sugar, 4 to 5 net grams of carbs per serving. So, try it for yourself. Use my code BLAZE or head to magicspoon.com/blaze to get $5 off your order. Plus, you can find it on Amazon or in your local grocery store. And remember, if you don't love it, Magic Spoon's 100% happiness guarantee have got you covered. Click on the link or scan that QR code now. And it's great. Just give it a try. Why not? And now back to today's episode. The first female president. Not content with being only the second United States president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, the other being Grover Cleveland, Trump has gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure that his re-election is something special. Donald Duck the Draft has ensured that Hillary Clinton can never ever become the first female president, nor can Nikki Haley. Who's Nikki Haley? Michelle Obama, or in fact anyone at all. Why? Because he is America's first female president, at least according to his executive order on gender assignment. What? In the ultimate climax to his years and years of anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, on his first day in office, he took the unusual step of legally defining every single citizen of the United States as female. I didn't even know about this one. That doesn't even make sense. When I first saw this headline on Twitter, I thought it was just one of those ridiculous things that people who blindly hate Trump without reason make up. Seriously, when you do this, people, it actually draws attention away from the insanity. But it turns out to be at least literally true. And if you don't believe me, listen to this extract of the order taken from ABC News. Quote, the executive order declares that there are only two sexes, male and female, and defines a female as a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell. The order defines male as a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell. Oh my god, I don't know enough about biology to understand that. To the casual observer, this might appear to be absolutely cut and dry, a fabulously tight definition with no wiggle room at all. After all, it ensures that someone's gender is decided long before they're actually born. Take that, you woke liberal snowflakes. The trouble is, as anybody who's paid even the slightest amount of attention during high school biology will tell you, at the point of conception, everyone is female and remains so for about 6 weeks. Well, there you go. Who knew? Wait, when does our genes get locked in? When do we become either an XY or an XX? I guess after 6 weeks. Then, or something. I need to brush up on my biology. This means that technically, and I am aware that this is a much more complicated issue than I've thus far gone into, that everybody born in the United States after this executive order will be female. Well, that doesn't mean that Hillary Clinton can't become president, because unless I missed something, she's already been born. She was born a long-ass time ago. Now, whether or not the Trump administration is planning to apply this retrospectively to all citizens is currently unclear, but it will be interesting to find out. Now, before we move on, wait, who the fuck's Nikki Haley or whatever her name was? Who is that? I would like to say that I was slightly reluctant to include this entry simply because I didn't want it to appear that I was making light of what is an exceptionally serious situation for anybody involved. As time's up for it, I'm more than happy to do a deep dive into the potential ramifications on Into the Shadows. We'll see, Dave. We'll see. Pardon. As you will all no doubt be aware, the President of the United States has the power to pardon anybody who has been convicted of a federal crime. Every president does this. It's one of the perks of the job. It is a weird perk that you can just be like, and you didn't commit a crime, and you didn't commit a crime. You may be surprised to hear that during his last term in office, Trump pardoned comparatively few individuals, 237 compared to Barack Obama's 1,927. Perhaps somebody told him that using the pardon power more unilaterally might make him more popular with certain individuals. Who knows? But on his first day in office, he dwarfed his previous pardon record in a single stroke when he granted clemency to approximately 1,200 people. But just who were these people? Were they, for example, people who it was widely believed had been wrongly convicted? Or were they people who had received outrageously harsh sentences for minor infractions? Well, no. Before I tell you who they were, we know who they are. They're the Capitol storming people, right? Before I tell you who they were, we'd just like to draw your attention to these words spoken by Trump himself shortly after the 6th of January riots. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who broke the law, you will pay. Granted, he didn't actually write these words. Most of the credit for that goes to Dan Scavino, but he did read them out in a serious voice, and isn't that pretty much the same thing? I mean, look, you gotta own it. If you're reading out the words, you kind of stand behind them. I am very, very familiar with this. There are words that I'm changing on Dave's script as I read them, because I just, there was one earlier where he described Trump as the commander-in-chief, and I just thought, when you display the bias so obviously, I just don't think it's clever, so I changed it. Sorry, Dave. Calling you out while I'm doing this, but it's to illustrate my point. So, stealing a writing technique I saw H. Bomber Guy do and really liked, we must ask ourselves, there is no way it was any of these people that he pardoned, is there? What's going on? What? I don't even understand. Do I have a tiny brain? What's going on? I mean, yes, I do, but what's going on? Well, actually, yes, that's right. The President of the United States pardoned 1,200 people, many of whom attempted to use fear and violence to disrupt democracy, actions that have previously been described as terrorism, seemingly because they were his supporters. When asked about the decision by the press, the convicted felons... See, now I'm not changing that one, because that's clever. That's clever. I mean, President said, murderers get no time. You take a look at some of these district attorneys, they go after political opponents, but they don't go after people that shoot people in the street. I don't know how true that is. Whilst it may be true that several of these individuals were guilty of fairly minor transgressions of the law, several of them were in prison for directly attacking members of law enforcement, and this has not gone down particularly well with most people. Yeah, I don't understand. Like, sure, I get, like, the pardoning of maybe even the majority of these. Oh, I don't know. It's so contentious. Like, you shouldn't have done it, should you? But someone who's doing violence at that thing, obviously, I don't know, that's really different than someone who thinks they're just taking part in a rightful protest. And people are not smart. I don't think, like, everyone who's at this thing thinks that what they're doing is wrong. I think they've been riled up to believe that they're defending their country and defending democracy, which isn't right, but it's what they believe. And I think there should be some understanding for that. But for people who are actively violent and caused harm or damage, well, obviously that should still be punished. While I personally do not believe that attacking a police officer should be considered more serious than attacking anybody else who's just doing their job, I imagine that if I were a police officer who had been injured whilst trying to defend the seat of government from what were essentially terrorists, seeing my attacker pardoned by that self-same government might make me wonder why the fuck I'd bothered in the first place. Interestingly, the January 6th attackers were not the only people who received pardons during Trump's first days in office. He also pardoned Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road founder, who, even if you discount the unproven claims that he had several people murdered, is undeniably responsible for quite a few drug-related deaths. It's complicated, though. Like, the Ross Ulbricht one is complicated. That whole story is complicated. It's not just as simple as, oh, he's a drug kingpin and he belongs in prison. There were all sorts of weird shit going on around that case. Working as a team is like the most stupidest thing. On the 7th of April 1948, many countries from around the world, including the USA, came together and formed what has arguably been the single greatest organization for both promoting and implementing improvements in global health, the World Health Organization. For those who are unfamiliar with the WHO, I mean, it's right there in the title what they do. But I mean, holy shit, who's not familiar with the WHO? Their website has this to say about themselves. WHO works worldwide to promote health, keep the world safe, and serve the vulnerable. Our goal is to ensure that 1 billion more people have universal health coverage, to protect 1 billion more people from health emergencies, and to provide a further 1 billion people with better health and well-being. What about the other 4 billion people in the world, WHO? F*** you. No, I get it. It's just a joke. Whilst this may come across as self-grandizing ideology, they really do some important work, chief among them being organizing global vaccination distribution, helping to ensure that people who can't afford medicine might just get some anyway, and carrying out peer-reviewed research. You know, that sort of thing. Sounds terribly aggrandizing, doesn't it, Dave? Up until Trump signed an executive order removing the US from the organization, America was not only quite a prominent voice when it came to deciding what the organization did, in spite of the claims of certain individuals, but also played a valuable part in making sure that everything ran as smoothly as possible. Now, before I continue, I'm fully aware that at this point in the script, attempting to deflect any of the barrage of abuse I'm likely to receive in the comment section is largely pointless. I just wanted to point out, of course, that the WHO is incredibly far from perfect. Yeah, I mean, anything that big is very far from perfect. Anything that big, the wastage is gonna be insane. No organization of that size can get everything right, but the mere fact that so many countries are at least attempting to work together on major health issues stands as its own testament to how valuable it is. Valuable? That sounds like self-aggrandizing nonsense, Dave. So, apart from the fact that they don't recommend injecting disinfectant directly into the bloodstream as a cure for COVID, what has Trump got against them? Incidentally, last time I mentioned the disinfectant thing in a script, quite a few people called me out in the comment section saying that Trump had never suggested anything of the sort and that I, along with the rest of the left-wing cultural Marxists, had made it up. So I went back and watched the video, and this is exactly what he said.
And I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
Look, he didn't say people should be injected. Sorry, Dave. Look, I'm not some Trump supporter. I'm not even American. I don't give a fuck. But I mean, I do, because it's really important. Like, America's really big and important, and they have all sorts of international influence. But maybe less with Trump. But he didn't say inject disinfectant into your veins. He said disinfectant kills COVID. Yes. He said we should look at whether putting disinfectant into people can kill COVID. He just said we should look into it. Do I think it's nonsense? Yes, of course I do. Do I think it should be looked into? Well, for about 30 seconds until some scientist is like, bruh. No. But he doesn't say you should do it. He's just saying, he's literally saying he doesn't know. So yes, he kind of did say it. He kind of didn't, though, Dave. Anyway, the order seems to suggest the reason for abandoning the WHO is down to its mishandling of the COVID crisis, combined with familiar whining that America pays too much for everything. But also, America does pay too much of everything. I mean, I get why they do it, because America has enormous soft power. Like America's aid programs, America's cultural influence, America's dollars, like the currency, not the aid. It's an enormous amount of soft power that is worth a lot of money. But America does pay for a lot of stuff. I don't know how happy I would be if I was an American seeing how much money gets spent on stuff. It's a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily directly benefit America. I get where this appeal comes from. Personally, and I don't wish to get all conspiratorial about this, I suspect that the real answers can be found in the Project 2025 Mandate for Leadership. This 922-page document makes for fascinating reading, and if you, like I, have nothing better to do one weekend, then I suggest you give it a read. Bro, there's no way I could read out 922 pages in a weekend. I read like a book a year, dude. Seriously, hit me up in the comments. I'll send you a link to the PDF. As we all know by now, Trump's career contains more flip-flops than the lost property at Butlins. What the fuck's Butlins? Oh, I know Butlins! You explained it. I know it. It's like a tacky Mar-a-Lago. It's like Mar-a-Lago, but less tacky. And that's really saying something, because if Butlins is what I imagine it is, yeah, I imagine it is extremely tacky. Although previously pro-choice, telling NBC News, Meet the Press, that he would never ban abortion because I am strongly pro-choice, several years later at a town hall, he would tell MSNBC's Chris Matthews that there should be some sort of punishment for women who seek abortion. Guess what the Mandate for Leadership had to say about abortion and the WHO? The Biden administration has deformed the agency by treating it as a global platform to pursue overseas a divisive political and cultural agenda that promotes abortion, climate extremism, gender radicalism, and interventions against perceived systemic racism. When you read that sentence, the reason for leaving becomes abundantly clear. I mean, what sort of country could sleep at night knowing it was part of an organization that supports a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, that is working to help mitigate the scientifically indisputable effects of climate change, believes that everybody deserves the same rights no matter how they choose to identify, and thinks that racism is bad? It's madness. But it's also shades of grey. Did someone say golf? Although Donald Trump's expansion plans involving the Danish-owned territory of Greenland were quite understandably treated as the senile ramblings of a delusional fool, it seems that he is doubling down on this particular piece of insanity. I mean, again. Is it insane? Yeah. Would Greenland be beneficial for the US? Yes. Oh my God. I read a thing the other day about, I think it was in The Economist, about why Canada should join the EU. And I'm like, holy shit, global change is happening. I mean, Canada's not going to join the EU. But it does make sense. It was a really, really good argument for it. I'm not entirely sure how many Greenlanders he had spoken to when he made the claim that I think the people want to be with us, but I do know that none of the 5 I reached out to this afternoon want any part of this nonsense. Happily for Trump, there is a way of at least making it look like you have more territory, and that is by, and I can't believe I'm actually writing this, rewriting the map. It actually becomes genuinely difficult to write extensively about this guy purely because after reading the things he'd said for a couple of hours, you start to doubt the possibility of their validity. I don't mean that the words themselves sound untrue. Anybody who knows anything about Trump knows how to tell when he is lying. His lips move. I mean that you truly do start to doubt whether he actually said these things or whether somebody has made them up for the sake of parody. Take this one, for example. This is what he said about renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Fuck yeah, man. And New Mexico. Fuck that shit. New America. What else is called Mexico? Rename that shit. Quote, we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America. Oh my God, it's so hard to read his words because he speaks so weirdly. What a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. All right. See what I mean? Imagine a drunk tramp screaming those words at an unsuspecting pigeon and tell me it seems out of place. Oh my God, I don't know. I just don't like the idea. It's just crazy. It's really odd to me to just be like, everything Trump says is crazy because you don't like Trump. Dave is British as well. And I feel that this feels very American to be like very far on the left or very far on the right. Because that's the kind of media exposure we get. And I'm like, isn't the reality that you might not like him, you might not like Biden, wherever you are, but there are some things that you're going to be like, oh, okay, I see the logic there. Like, I see the logic behind him wanting Greenland. Do I think that it's crazy and it would be a huge disruption to the global state of affairs? Yes. Do I understand why he wants it? Yes. Do I understand why he doesn't want Mexico to allow people to pour into the country? Yes. And in a way, it's kind of like, it's not that Mexico, unless I'm very wrong about this, and I could be because I'm not an expert, it's often not Mexican people who are crossing the Mexico-US border into America illegally. It's people who have come from further south, who are in countries which are having big political disruptions or whatever, or, people are being persecuted, and they go through Mexico to the United States. And so Trump's saying, I don't want Mexico to keep allowing these people in. It's like, Mexico, shore up your borders so I don't have to shore up mine against you. I get it. Do I agree with it? No. Do I get it? Yes. It doesn't sound like a drunk tramp screaming words at a pigeon. It just doesn't. Calling it stupid, I feel is less less dismantlative, if that's a word. I'm sure there's a word. I don't have a big brain. Is less dismantlative than being like, okay, I get it and here's why it's wrong. Rather than just being, oh, it's stupid. It's like, here's why I get it and here's why I disagree, or here's why I think it's wrong, or here's the logical falling down in it. Making sense? Probably not. Making the whole thing appear even more surreal, we have the words, and I promise you this is legitimate, written in the executive order to justify this action, which will remain part of American history for the rest of time. President Trump is bringing common sense to government and renewing the pillars of American civilization. And so it is done. I mean, but it's just political speech. It's just like, is it crazy? No, it's just like, what does he want to do? Renew the pillars of American civilization. Fantastic. Okay, great. Make America great again. It just sounds good to everyday people who like this stuff. And so it is done. American maps will be changed so that the area of the globe is now called the Gulf of America. And it's serious. It's even going to be changed on Google Maps. Well, it's going to be changed to Gulf of America for Americans using Google, as far as I were to ascertain. Nobody else in the world is recognizing the name change. It appears that even the president's new billionaire tech friends are just humoring him. On a global scale, it seems to mean as much as it would be if I were to go to London and rename Buckingham Palace as Dave's Blazing Pad. Even though we have barely begun to scratch the surface, I think that is probably where we should end today. Assuming I don't get hunted down and murdered by MAGA, and also assuming this video does well, I'm more than happy to make parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I don't know, Dave. I don't know. After all, we did not even cover any of the executive orders from his previous time in office. Before you go, I'd just like to thank Jimmy Kimmel. All right. For providing the world with a splendid list of hilarious nicknames for the current president, the best of which I incorporated into this script. Fun fact, Jimmy Kimmel, I don't know if he still is, he used to be a fan of mine. You get random people who are like, oh, cool, okay. To those Americans who did not vote for grab-ass grandpa, you have my deepest sympathies. Thanks for watching. Wait, who the fuck's Nikki Haley or whatever her name was? Who is that?